Hello everyone and welcome back to Newegg TV. I'm Steve and today I'm going to do an overview on this IP camera from TRENDnet. This is model number TV-IP302PI. And a brief look at the front of the box. Just want to mention a couple different things here. They do provide a guided do-it-yourself installation as well as having an IP66 rating. That basically means that it's protected against dust completely from getting inside the device, as well as it being protected against like very powerful water jets up to 100 kilopascal pressure at 3 meters. Also, it has 15-meter night vision. These LEDs here, these infrared LEDs I should say, providing all the light that it needs to see in, at nighttime or in pitch black. Also has a free management software, I'll try and get into that a little bit later, and a free mobile app. Specifically, they have obviously a QR code here on the front. Just want to show you one more thing on the side here. Does come with a housing that provides a shield that you can actually move and adjust. I'll show that to you in just a moment. Basically just try to keep the sun out of the eyes of the camera. Night vision up to 15 meters as I mentioned. HD 720p resolution at 30 FPS. Also, they do provide for you, well actually you need to have other hardware to use it, but it is capable of power over Ethernet. So if you wanted to just kind of save yourself some installation woes, you could easily hook it up via that and give it some power. Also, you have the program to monitor for motion detection as well as email alerts with the complementary software, as well as being OnVIF version 2.1 and IPv6 compatible. All right, here's all the goods that come inside the box. I'm going to start here with the paperwork. So they highly recommend that you register your product, and they do provide for you a little QR code here to make that step a little bit easier. So thank you, TRENDnet. And of course, they do provide for you the quick start guide. I'm just going to kind of open it up to a couple pages. This is probably one of the most important ones here. This is how you get set up with power over Ethernet if you end up not wanting to use the AC adapter. It'd be kind of easy to use. And then TRENDnet does provide two different solutions if you wanted to go with an injector just for this single PoE device, or if you wanted to go with a power over Ethernet switch. You have two options. If you wanted to purchase it, the model number is here, TPE S80, and I believe that's TPE 113GI. That's important. And then I should also mention that they do provide for you that GPIO port, which is basically a general purpose input-output port, and it allows you to get a little bit of extra connectivity if you wanted to hook this up to another system like an alarm system, for instance. You'd get some additional functionality. But I also want to mention too that they tell you how to reset this back to defaults, because this isn't one of those cameras you're going to have out where other people can just get on a ladder and push a reset button. This needs to be in a secure area. So the cabling is ran into the household, and at the end of the GPIO port is actually how you reset that. I'll show you that in just a moment anyways. And TRENDnet's Secure View app, which is actually providing for you two different QR codes, one for Google Play for Android devices, as well as one for iOS devices at the App Store. And then we do have a little CD here providing you the utility, the free utility. You probably download that also from TRENDnet's website, as well as the user guide in PDF format, I'm betting. Then they do provide an Ethernet cable, so that way you can get connected right away to your network. Here's that reset cable I mentioned earlier. I know it's fairly small, but I'm going to show you a little bit more of that in just a moment. They also provide the AC adapter in case you don't want to go PoE. And they do have a mount. Of course, you'd need this in order to be able to mount the camera. It's got a little ball joint in here, and you can swivel that around, as well as a little tightener here that'll allow you to twist it left and right. But then you would, of course, need this hardware to connect it, which they provided for you as well, and a couple anchors here too. So, since I've still got that in my hand, I'll bring the camera over and show you guys this camera. Fairly nice. It's aluminum housing. Very, very sturdy feeling, and they have two mounting points here for this bracket to actually mount it. Two mounting points for the mount. One here at the bottom and one here at the top, so that way you could hang it from a ceiling or mount it to a rooftop, I'm assuming. A couple things at the bottom here I'll mention in just a moment, but at the face of the camera here you can actually see the lens in the middle. It's black, as well as just a firing squad of infrared LEDs here, just to lighten the view 50 feet in front of you. So that's really nice in case you're in pitch black where you're going to be wanting to monitor for video. Also, it has this sort of hood here. It's supposed to keep the sun out of the camera's eyes. That's obviously good in case you get a washed out image. And this is also removable as well as adjustable, although I've done a really good job getting it on. There we go. So you can see it adjust all the way back or all the way back forward again. And just because I mentioned it earlier, I do want to mention it again, or fill you in, I should say. Model number down here, it's also going to take DC 12 volt 1 amp AC adapter. That's the amount of power it's going to need. Then you just have the Mac, you do have a MAC address here, as well as the hardware version and the firmware version. But I do want to show you some more about the cables here. So let me go ahead and take those out next. I guess I'll start here with the audio. Dang, I managed to cut myself. Look at that. That's what I do for you guys. I bleed. That's what you guys like. I'm going to sacrifice myself. Okay, so I've got a microphone connection here as well as a speaker, both 3.5 millimeter plugs, or ports I should say, and that's going to provide you the ability to be able to speak to whoever's on the other side of this camera via the microphone input as well as the speaker output. Then, of course, they are providing for you that power connector for the AC adapter, BNC connector, allowing you to do the analog connection to your security camera setup, however you have that in use, in case you're not going digital with it. Be slightly less quality than the other ways of doing it via digital, but that being said, moving right along to the GPIO port, the general purpose input-output port. Now, if you were going to reset this back to defaults, what you'd have to do is take this and the cable here and actually ground out between the default and ground. Just make that loop go right across, and that'll reset it. That way you don't have to worry about people doing it when they're not supposed to or when you don't authorize it. It's nice to have that extra security. And then they do provide this Ethernet connection, and then of course a coupler, so that way you can go from male back to female and connect that in, and depending on if you're using PoE or otherwise, you'll be easily connected and getting this thing up and running. Alright guys, that's going to wrap up this overview of TRENDnet's IP camera, and if you liked what you saw today, don't forget to click the like button, and if you haven't already done so, click subscribe to any of our various YouTube channels, and we'll see you soon.